Welcome everybody. I'm looking forward to telling you more about the robust seismic velocity model building technique my friend Ettore and I have developed here at Stanford. And we call it full waveform inversion by model extension, or FWIME. So in this presentation, we're simply going to give you an overview, or the big picture, of the research goals we set out for FWIME. We would like to first introduce ourselves. This picture was taken in our office at Stanford University. My friend Ettore on the left is from Genoa in Italy, and I am from Nice, France. Moreover, in the past 4 years, Ettore and I have collaborated on many different projects, and today we're really excited to tell you more about FWIME. Let me just recap our two main research goals here. The first one is to produce accurate acoustic seismic velocity models of the subsurface using surface seismic data, which we know are not purely acoustic. And for that, we built a robust algorithm, FWIME, which mitigates the need for accurate initial models. It also mitigates the need for the presence of low frequency and long offset data that may not always be available to us. However, I want to highlight the fact that these types of data are still welcome, as FWIME can leverage them to further improve the accuracy of our results. So one of the key features that I think differentiates us from other techniques developed in the past is that we are specifically trying to make our approach as automatic and transparent as possible in order to reach a broader range of non-expert users. And for this, we managed to minimize the number of hyperparameters to adjust throughout the inversion process. We're now applying FWIME to 3D field data, and as we do so, we are currently addressing three main challenges. First, the computational cost. Second, the limitations stemming from the acoustic isotropic approximation done in our modeling. And third, we want our technique to perform well in the presence of complex overburdens like salt bodies. But in fact, our end goal here is to better characterize hydrocarbon reservoirs in terms of geological structures and petrophysical properties, which is eventually what we really care about. For that, we're going to use the output of FWIME as an input for the target-oriented elastic FWI method, which is the focus of Ettore's PhD thesis. But the topic of my presentation here today is about finding out how we think that FWIME will successfully achieve the first goal. We plan to make our presentation a tutorial on our method composed of three main parts. In the first part, we will talk about the theory and design of the FWIME objective function. And in fact, you will soon learn that the FWIME objective function is the combination or the sum of two well-known objective functions. First, a modified version of the conventional FWI objective function, and second, a modified version of a wave equation migration velocity analysis, or MVA, objective function. The idea is to get the best out of both worlds. On one hand, FWI can recover accurate and high-resolution solutions, but is very sensitive to the accuracy of the initial model. And on the other hand, wave equation MVA techniques tend to be more robust and less prone to converge to non-useful solutions, but produce lower resolution models. So in the first part, we tell you how we designed the objective function, and therefore in the second part, we explain how we minimize it. More specifically, we will explain how we incorporate our model space multiscale approach into our workflow, and how it is crucial for the success of our method. In this approach, we simultaneously invert the full data bandwidth, and the multiscale part is performed directly on the model wave number domain. We parameterize our velocity model with spline grids, beginning by a very coarsely sampled grid. And we refine the sampling as we iterate until an accurate solution is successfully recovered. And the key here is that the spline parameterization allows us to control the wave number content of the model updates, and we gradually increase that content with iterations. Finally, in the third part, we illustrate the potential of FWIME on more realistic examples. The first one is conducted on the Marmousi 2 model, where the dataset is dominated by reflections. The source we use contains energy strictly limited to the 4 to 13 Hz range. We begin with a poor model, a laterally invariant linear V of z, and we show that FWIME retrieves an accurate solution where indeed conventional FWI has no chance to succeed. In the second example, we show our method's ability at inverting a dataset dominated by diving waves on the North Sea region of the BP 2004 model. We also start with a naive linear V of z initial guess, and a source whose energy is strictly contained within the 3 to 9 Hz range, and here again, FWIME recovers an excellent solution. Let's now specify the challenges we want to tackle with FWIME. On one hand, we're trying to bridge the information gap existing between wave equation MVA techniques and FWI by combining the two into one robust automatic workflow. And many authors have taken a similar approach before us. Among them, SIMES 2008 was the first one to our knowledge to propose to merge these techniques by using a concept referred to as extended modeling, in which the model search space is augmented in order to mitigate cycle skipping issues inherent to FWI. Following the same philosophy, Biondi and Almomi in 2014 proposed a technique referred to as tomographic full waveform inversion, or TFWI, and they showed very promising results, but their workflow was very user-intensive. Finally, Hyung and SIMES 2015 also proposed an interesting approach using a different optimization scheme referred to as the variable projection method. And these authors really inspired us into trying to develop a technique that would build on their work and improve some of their weaknesses. Now let's get some better insight on where and how we think FWIME fits in and adds value from an industry standpoint. For that, we're going to examine a similar graph as the one showed in Imaging the Earth's Interior by John Claerbout in 1985. And this graph shows the accuracy of the recovered velocity model as a function of its spatial frequency content in log scale. We begin by MVA techniques which are able to recover the low wave number components of the velocity model accurately, but are limited in resolution. In the past decade, acoustic FWI has been successfully employed to recover more accurate and higher resolution models. However, it suffers from issues on both ends of the wave number spectrum. On the higher end, its resolution is still limited due to its high computational cost that increases exponentially with the maximum frequency content in the data. And also, the acoustic approximation prevents it from recovering certain elastic and petrophysical properties of the reservoirs. On the lower end of the spectrum, its success is contingent on already having an accurate initial model, and failing to do so will lead the inversion to recover non-useful solutions. This issue can sometimes be mitigated by the presence of low frequency and long offset data, but these are costly to acquire and therefore not always available. Moreover, they do not always guarantee accurate results. Last but not least, migration usually uses FWI inverted models to produce very high resolution images of the Earth. These images can provide key geological and structural information, but need to be further processed to recover petrophysical properties of the reservoirs. This is also due to the fact that this technique usually relies on the acoustic modeling assumption. So now if we step back and observe this plot, we can see that there's still indeed an information gap stemming from the fact that MVA techniques are sometimes not able to produce accurate enough, high resolution enough starting models for FWI to succeed. And this is where we come in. With our FWIME method, we managed to combine both wave equation MVA and FWI into one robust and mathematically consistent workflow. And to our knowledge so far, no one has been able to merge the two techniques into a consistent, automatic, user-friendly, transparent, and reproducible solution. And because of the high computational cost of FWIME, our goal is not to produce models with resolutions as high as the one obtained in conventional FWI. Instead, we see two main applications of our method. The first possibility is the more conventional one. We use the FWIME inverter model as an input for conventional FWI, and then we follow by a standard migration process. In the second possibility, say we want to better characterize a specific zone in the subsurface where we have identified a hydrocarbon reservoir. In that case, we may not need perfect accuracy or perfect resolution everywhere in the subsurface. So instead of computing one acoustic FWI on the entire volume, we can simply use the output of FWIME and feed it into Ettore's target-oriented elastic FWI workflow. And even though elastic FWI is more computationally intensive, it becomes perfectly affordable if we only apply it to a smaller target volume. Its main benefit is that we can retrieve the elastic properties with a more robust approach than with the standard amplitude versus angle or AVA analysis using migrated images. The second challenge we tackle in our project is to design a new objective function free of local minima that shares the same global minimum as conventional FWI. In other words, we want to convexify the FWI objective function and widen its global basin of attraction. In order to help you follow our tutorial on FWIME and the sequence of videos we are going to make, we propose the following outline, and we refer to this outline as the FWIME main storyline. After each video, we will recap what we have covered within the storyline and what the next video will talk about. Okay, so this is the end of our introduction video. We hope you enjoyed it and that we made you want to discover more about our technique FWIME. If you have any questions or comments, do not hesitate to contact us directly. Furthermore, if you're interested in watching more videos and accessing regular updates on our work, please visit our YouTube channel called EG Optimization.